Hey, welcome back. We are ACI Course 12, Class 4, April 3rd, 2026. Let's gather our minds here as we usually do. Please bring your attention to your breath until you hear from me again. Now bring to mind that being who for you is a manifestation of ultimate love, ultimate compassion, ultimate wisdom, and see them there with you just by way of your thinking of them. They are gazing at you with their unconditional love for you, smiling at you with their holy great compassion, their wisdom radiating from them, that beautiful golden glow encompassing you in its light. And then we hear them say, bring to mind someone you know who's hurting in some way. Feel how much you would like to be able to help them. Recognize how those worldly ways we try fall short. How wonderful it will be when we can also help in some deep and ultimate way, a way through which they will go on to stop their distress forever. Deep down, we know this is possible. Learning about emptiness and karma, we glimpse how it's possible. And so I invite you to grow that wish into a longing. And that longing into an intention. And with this strong intention, we turn our minds back to our precious holy being. We know that they know what we need to know, what we need to learn yet, what we need to do yet to become one who can help this other in this deep and ultimate way. And so we ask them, please, 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 teach me that, show me that, help me. become that. And they are so happy that we've asked. Of course, they agree. Our gratitude arises. We want to offer them something exquisite. And so we think of the pure world they are teaching us how to create. We imagine we can hold it in our hands and we offer it to them, following it with our promise to practice what they teach us, using our refuge prayer to make our promise. Here is the great earth, filled with fragrant incense and covered with a blanket of flowers. The great mountain, four lands, wearing the jewel of the sun and the moon. In my mind, I make them the paradise of a Buddha and offer it all to you. By this deed, may every living being experience the pure world. Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kam Niryatayami. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may we reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may we reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may all beings realize their total awakening for the benefit of every single other. Last class was hard. In it, we were talking about mind-only school versus middle way schools, explanation of the illusion and what it is to see the illusion. And the topic comes up because they are both, they have different meanings of what's meant by deceptive reality and ultimate reality. And Mind Only School says ultimate reality is the fact that nothing has any nature. And Mind Only Level School hears that and thinks, oh, then you mean everything is an illusion. And Middle Way says, yeah. And Mind Only says, no, because illusory things don't work. And so we bump up against this deep felt belief that things that function have to have a reality through which they can function. And that when our mind hears, oh, things are nothing but projections, it's like, wait, it bumps up against that hard belief. We've heard the punchline so many times. It's like, no, the way things function is also projection. And we've convinced ourselves that we can believe that. Until, I don't know about you, but until something goes wrong, something tangibly goes wrong. And I can't hold, oh, it's all a ripening of my own mind. as long as I respond nicely, it will work out. Yes, I can try to respond nicely, but I'm still afraid it's not going to work out. So, even in I'm a middle-way person, come on, Sarani. Those things that function, I really am not relating to them as nothing but projections. Because in saying that, my own ignorant mind still hears things that are less substantial than how I experience them. So really, it is worth digging into these different levels of theoretical understanding of emptiness and dependent origination in order to help us recognize the extent to which we are still experiencing our things with their natures and qualities in them, even as we say we don't believe it. As we struggle with those ideas, we get better at recognizing, I call it the blame factor, not blame in a negative way, but just recognizing where I'm really experiencing things as coming from versus knowing where they come from. Because I'm trying to get my knowing and my experience to be the same. So, mind only school says that if no object has any nature of its own, then even the state of mind in which we recognize the illusion can't exist. Do you see? Thinking that what it means to be the illusion is the thing isn't really there. When you see water in the desert, water is not really there, but the mirage is. So mind only hears the state of mind that perceives the illusion is illusion too. Middle Way says that. And they say, well, in that case, there's no subject state of mind that takes the fact of the illusion as its object. And if there can be no object, there can be no subject. If there's no subject, there's no object. So come on, Middle Way folks. You are deceiving yourself in believing that you can see the deception. Middle Way answers that objection. They say, well, mind only, your argument for seeing the illusion is similarly absurd because mind only believes that things don't have a nature only in the sense that it seems like everything has its own nature, as in coming from its own karmic seed, when in fact, what we experience is always coming from our karmic seed. The things that we experience, those functioning things that are real, we experience them unique to us. We experience them as if they have their own karmic substance. They use the term substance. When in fact, they are part of our own karmic substance, the way we experience them. Okay. So, Mind Only School says if things have no nature at all, they can't exist at all. But the illusion really means we experience things as if they come from a separate karmic seed than our own. And that's not true. Anything I experience has to be included in my own karmic seeds ripening, right? Right. Right. Mind only is not incorrect. it's held by a mind that still believes that that other powered thing, the pen that I think has its own karma, the one I experience is my karma. Right? And really, like that is where we're functioning. This one's unique to me. We're all seeing the same one. No, we're not. But there is one here for all of us to see. That's mind only. Middle way says, is there a pen here for all of us to see? Not when you go looking for that. Is there information here that we're all looking at? Yes. Is that information here all the same for all of us? No, not when you're looking at the information. Okay, so it's really this subtle, not so subtle difference between the things as realities that we never actually get to because we are always colored by our own unique way of seeing it. That's useful. Very useful. Mind only is useful. Because if everything's colored by the way I'm perceiving it, then I change my seeds. I can color everything into me perceiving it like, extraordinary. But the things themselves have not changed. And that's the limit. Do we just want to make a world that we experience as beautiful? Or do we want to really make a world that's beautiful? And if that's true of the world, that there's a part that we can't change, well, then it's true for ourselves as well. We could make a me that's always experiencing me as amazing, but it won't really be amazing. How does that work? So apparently at some point, you actually end up seeing, oh my gosh, those functioning things. Yes, there are functioning things. Yes, things work, but not outside of every being's ripening seeds. And then all of a sudden that need for a tangible functioning thing just falls away. But without this struggle, we could very well miss that nuance. So I don't know. Do we have to struggle with it to get it? No. But it's helpful. All right, let's leave it at that. So now Master Shantideva, he moves on to talking about the connection between understanding the two realities and stopping our mental afflictions. Because that's what we're trying to do. We're studying Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life. Bodhisattva is trying to reach their total enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings, total Buddhahood. Where was it we were talking about omniscience and what blocks omniscience? Man, it was really recently. Bogjiampa class. And Master Kamala Shila was saying, look, the cause of our obstacles to omniscience is believing that our own mind is a functioning thing. And it's like, whoa, that rocked my boat. And I'd heard it before, but it's like, oh my gosh. Because automatically my mind's going, what? my mind's not a functioning thing? And it's like, that's not what he's saying, of course. But man, I sure think of my mind as something that does the experiencing. And that's a block to the state of mind omniscience. And the block to omniscience is like our worst mental affliction. And it's like, no, it's not. I don't even know I'm doing it. But it's the cause of every other mental affliction. Because of it, I'm still holding on to everything, everybody, including me, has my nature in me from me, because it's carried in this belief that my mind is a thing that functions. And so everything it believes, right, is part of its functioning, and it's all got to be true because that's how I experience it. So why am I going there? All the other mental afflictions come out of that misunderstanding our world and ourselves, and all of those other mental afflictions cause the way we react with our world that plants more seeds for more mental afflictions. And so we're really stuck mental afflictioning, right? Even in our effort to get rid of them. So Master Shantideva is talking to to his audience who say they're trying to get over their mental afflictions. And he sees that he has a insight he wants to share with them about how you really stop mental afflictions. And he to set himself up, he goes into a review of the different levels of understanding of what's meant by dependent origination, just ever so briefly, so that we can follow his discussion about what's necessary to finally stop our mental afflictions versus just suppress them. And for that discussion, he will end up going into various proofs for emptiness. And he doesn't do it using the logical statements exactly, but he goes through these different arguments that we can use for our own mind when our mind insists that the angry, yelling boss's jerkness is in them, how we can check to see whether we can really hold that to be true. Okay, so he reminds us that there are these different levels of understanding. Where's my share button? Vocabulary. Make us bigger. All right, so when we are talking about these theoretical lower schools or lower states of mind, we're familiar with these terms, I think: Shravaka, listener, and Pratyeka Buddha, self-made Buddha, that are not Buddhas and not self-made. Both of these levels of theoretical practitioners are considered Hinayana capacity, meaning their circumstance or their belief is such that they have their goal as nirvana for Pratyeka Buddha, and for Shravaka, what they mean by Shravaka here is closing the door to a lesser rebirth. And it's like I never really quite understood how could someone who's studying and practicing Buddhism seriously think that all that they could achieve would be to assure that they get another human rebirth in which they could continue their dharma. And as I was thinking about it, it's like, well, maybe, back in those times in India, there was the caste system, and maybe you are a lower caste person, so that you can never break out of, apparently. And then because you are a lower caste person, you really aren't allowed to interact with people to the extent that it seems like a bodhisattva would need to interact. So maybe your aspiration is huge, but your circumstances in life are so limiting that you recognize, man, I just need to live this life so that I can get a human life in which I don't have these limitations. So it's not that they don't conceive of themselves as wanting to become Arhat or Buddha. It's just they don't conceive of them able to make significant change in their circumstance that they could. And then maybe they'd say, I'm going to direct my practice to closing the door to a lesser rebirth. Like that makes sense to me. It's not a limited belief, it's a circumstantial. So either way, Hinayana level is focused on practicing your wisdom to the extent that you can grow it to get this goal that has to do with one's own self. Hinayana. There's nothing to be disrespected about living a life in which you're trying to reach your own nirvana. You will be more kind, right? You will avoid harming others. And so it really is more theoretical. But then just to be clear, in modern times, there are Buddhists called Theravadan Buddhists who are also Hinayana level Buddhists. And that group of Buddhism, it is based, they study and follow the what are called the Pali Sutras. So the Buddha's teachings that went into the Pali language and that went into certain countries. And then that's all this as scriptural authority. That's what they study as the Buddha's teaching. And when they're presented with the Mahayana scriptures, for instance, they say those are lovely, but they're not Shakyamuni Buddha's teaching. They didn't come to us in the first group of teachings like that. So they just, right, that heritage is these particular set of teachings. And they are about Vinaya. They're the teachings of the Abhidharma Kosha, categorization of all existing things. They teach the four noble truths, four Arya truths. And they focus on the Noble Eightfold Path, right? The behavior to lead in order to stop our mental afflictions. In that category of thought called lesser vehicle, Hinayana, they believe that what what you need to do to start your process towards the end of your mental afflictions is that you need to realize what are called the 16 aspects of impermanence. The 16 aspects of impermanence are those 16 realizations that in higher way are said to come to us hot on the heels of coming out of our direct perception of emptiness. And those 16 experiences, some still on your cushion, some in the hours off your cushion immediately after, they can be grouped into four main realizations. The realization of the truth of suffering, that everything about our world is suffering, outright suffering, or the causes for more. The second batch is the truth of the cause of suffering. The third batch is the truth of the cessation of suffering. You stop the causes, you stop the suffering. And the fourth is the truth of the path to the end of suffering. So we know those as the four Arya truths. And we learn that those are the things that we have an experience through which they become real after we have that sequence of suddenly seeing that, oh my gosh, the pot on stove is my seed ripening whole pot on stove. What all I've ever really experienced is information receiving. It's label identity function. Oh my gosh, I've never experienced anything any other way than that, but I've never known it before. We go jump on our meditation cushion. We go into that direct perception of the no nature of me and my world. Everything, me and all existence, which includes Buddhas, those who are and those who aren't yet. And that lasts some period of time. And then we stir out of it, have that sense of coming down. And then that's when these 16 direct experiences start popping up. And it takes, hours. Geshe-la says the rest of that day until you go to bed. It's like, why would you go to bed? Until you were forced to. When you just like stay up and stay up and stay up, wanting to gain more and more. Anyway, so Master Shantideva is pointing out this discrepancy between the connection between seeing emptiness directly and stopping our mental afflictions. Because these lower schools say, they use the word realize, when you realize these 16 aspects of the four truths, that's when you're on your conveyor belt to the end of your mental afflictions. It's like, what are we arguing about? They say the same thing. Master Shantideva points out that the lower schools believe that what's meant by the path of seeing is this series of experiences in which you come to realize those 16 aspects grouped into the four that become the four noble truths. they call them the 16 changing et ceteras. And that's what this term means, mitak sok chudruk. The 16 aspects of impermanence, but that's not what the words actually say. The words here, mitak means changing, sok means etc. Chudruk is the 16 aspects of changing, etc. Code, right? If we didn't know that was talking about the 16 aspects of the four Arya truths, how would we get it out of there? But the point is, lower schools say, we will reach a point in our practice where suddenly, whoa, we're recognizing each one of these 16 aspects, which we're not going to talk about the 16 yet. So it's like they're saying to Master Shantideva, why are we spending all this time trying to prove emptiness to ourselves? What's so important about emptiness? Like that seems blasphemous for a Buddhist to say from our training, okay? They say all you need to do is realize these 16 aspects. And with those understandings, you understand where suffering comes from, the causes, how we make the causes, what we have to do to stop the causes. And then you just set about to stop all your mental afflictions. And they don't really talk about where the direct perception of emptiness comes into play, because these are the important piece that move you from the path of seeing to the path of habituation. We understand that in fact, we don't and can't realize the truth of suffering, cause, cessation, how to do it, until we've experienced directly the fact that nothing exists the way that we believe. We can understand those 16 really highly intellectually, even emotionally, so that we can be learning to live according to that Noble Eightfold Path, right? Arya's Eightfold Path. We can learn to live that way. But until we see emptiness directly, those four truths will not be truths. They will not be something that we know in the same way as we know what it is to ride a bike once we've actually done it, even if we never do it again. And until then, doesn't matter how many videos on bike riding you watch, you won't know what it's like. So Master Shantideva is pointing out the necessity to have the direct experience of ultimate reality, because after that is when these realizations are triggered that come to be known as the 16 aspects of the four Arya truths. Until the direct perception of emptiness, we just believe them so highly we can live according to them. But he points out that even as we are understanding them intellectually, so much so that we're even living according to them, when we interact with the yelling boss, with this strong enough belief and willpower to not yell back, we are still believing that the boss and the yelling and the discomfort that I am not going to respond badly to all is having its own nature in some way. And so even as we're trying not to replant our mental affliction, we are still replanting the cause of every mental affliction, which is that inherent belief that their identity, our identity, the experience I'm having, all have something in it from it. So it is a subtle but important factor that really we can't stop any of our mental afflictions until we stop believing, like even starting with the belief, oh, it's in them from them, because that's already been planted. By the time we experience it, it's replanted. So it like leaves us feeling like, oh my gosh, how do we ever stop the cycle? If in the attempt to stop the cycle, I'm replanting the cycle. Okay, so mm, there are two kinds of mental afflictions that we all have. The mental afflictions that are manifesting in the moment, and then the sleeping seeds, the mental afflictions that we have seeds for that aren't ripening right now. In Tibetan, Ningirwa is the term for the active mental afflictions. You know, the obvious one is when the boss is yelling and we feel hurt and upset. That hurt and upset is the active mental affliction. The bakla nyawa means sleeping seeds. Bakla means seeds. Nyawa, sleeping seeds. I like that term, which means that when we say, well, you know, I'm not angry right now, and I don't even have a boss anymore, so I can't ever have a yelling boss experience again. So I must be all over, you know, my seeds for feeling hurt by a yelling boss are all gone. I don't have that mental affliction anymore. And, you know, it's like, come on, does that mean you would never again get hurt by a boss yelling at you or someone in authority yelling at you? Doesn't have to be a boss. How would we know we're free of that mental affliction until we were in the situation and we experienced it so completely differently than before, right? That we weren't even going, oh, here's the boss yelling, this is really unpleasant, but look, I'm not even upset. It's like, yeah, but we already have heard the boss yelling as the boss yelling, oh, phooey. Yeah. So when we have sleeping seeds, we can't really say we're done with our mental afflictions until we can somehow know that those sleeping seeds have been so damaged or they've ripened and we haven't acted badly. So Master Shantideva is talking to people who apparently believe that as long as they're not having an active mental affliction, then they are not perpetuating their suffering world. Because, right, they don't see the connection between experiencing ultimate reality directly and actually, and the effect that that has on the mind for damaging the sleeping seeds, damaging the ignorant part of every seed. So we've learned that the definition of nirvana is the permanent cessation of all mental afflictions and the seeds for more due to our individual analysis, which is what a crazy vague term that is. And then we learned the individual analysis meant that direct experience of the 16 aspects of the four Arya truths. And we understand that those are triggered by seeing emptiness directly. Why don't they say that in the definition of nirvana? Because the lower schools use the same definition of nirvana. Maybe they don't, but they also say you stop your mental afflictions and seeds for more by way of your realization of the four truths, the 16 aspects of the four truths. The difference is the significance of experiencing ultimate reality at least one time, right? Just once is enough to start stopping the perpetuation of our mental afflictions. And that's Master Shantideva's discussion, trying to motivate people to increase their study, practice, meditation on reaching wisdom. And for those in Bulk Jinpa, you recognize that Master Kamalashila is doing the same thing, not teaching us how to meditate, but teaching us what to meditate on in order to grow our intellectual wisdom, in order to plant the seeds to grow our direct perception. So Master Shantideva's discussion with the lower school states of mind in his audience, he's saying, yes, you can suppress your mental afflictions, but you can't actually stop them just by understanding intellectually where suffering comes from. And he gives the example to the monks to explain that. He says, you know, you monks, when you finally get out of the monastery and go to town, don't you find yourself like so attracted to the beautiful legs of the young women walking around? And he says, but when you're attending the funeral of your dear mother, and you are overcome with grief, there's beautiful legs walking around, but you aren't even noticing. You have no attraction because you're so overwhelmed by your grief. But as the grief goes away, right, your attraction to those beautiful legs will come back. Just because you didn't have the attraction to the beautiful legs in the moments that you were attending your mom's funeral did not mean that you didn't have the mental affliction of attraction for beautiful legs. It was just suppressed by the other situation. So he's saying, you just because we're not having our mental afflictions now or now or now or now or now, it does not mean they won't come up in another given situation. So Hinayana say, who said so, Master Shantideva? And Master Shantideva says, Lord Buddha did in the Yumkido. So here it is. The Yumkido means the Mother Sutras. Yum is the honorific for mother. Our mothers we call Amma, but the king's mother you call Yum, right? So Do is words of the Buddha. Yum Ki Do refers to the Prajnaparamita Sutras, the Perfection of Wisdom Sutras. Those teachings that Buddha gave, in which he said, hey, all those things I taught you about, all those existing things, in fact, they have no nature. And it's like, what? Why would you say they all exist and now you say they all don't exist? That's not what Buddha said. But if that's what we heard, it wouldn't make sense because that would be contradictory. And a Buddha can't say contradictory things. It starts that whole discussion that becomes what the Buddha meant teaching. So Master Shantideva Mahayana is saying, Lord Buddha taught the Perfection of Wisdom Sutras, and those Perfection of Wisdom Sutras, what they teach is what helps us give birth to our Buddhahood, which is why they're called the Mother Sutras. They are the sutras that give birth to Buddhas. But Hinayanists say those texts were not in the collection of texts that came to our tradition. They came along after. They weren't taught by the Buddha. Somebody else taught those. Somebody else wrote those down. And so, as beautiful as they are not authoritative texts because they're not in our canon of scripture. It's a good argument. What is in their canon of scripture? The Vinaya, the Abhidharma, not just the Kosha, but the sutra teachings that have to do with all existing things and behavior. What's not in their collection of teachings is the Prajnaparamita or the Diamond Wood. So when we go into that argument about whether Lord Maitreya is a Bodhisattva or a Buddha, here's part of the reason why it happens. In Sutra, they're a Bodhisattva. If they're a Bodhisattva, then they're not authoritative text for people who say we only study what Buddha said directly. If Lord Maitreya is already a Buddha, well, then maybe you could make the case, well, a Buddha said this directly. You want to study that too? But if they're only Bodhisattva, only, right? So, there are subtle reasons for these arguments or discussions that I know for years I thought, why do I need to go through all of that? But then later, when it all was coming together, it's like, oh, I see why he was planting those seeds in my mind. You meaning Geshe Michael? So then in this class, Geshe shifts over to using a Lord Maitreya teaching in order for us to see the connection between perceiving emptiness directly and stopping the cycle of perpetuating our mental afflictions in order to help us follow Master Shantideva's discussion with the Hinayanas as to why it's necessary. In Shantideva's text, he doesn't outline these so succinctly. So we shift to a text called Uttara Tantra, which is not a secret text, a tantric text. Its Tibetan is Gyulama. It means the higher line, and it's one of the texts that became one of the 5 books Arya Asanga brought back from his trip to Lord Maitreya's paradise. And it's a text about how the process of becoming a Buddha. And in it, Lord Maitreya gives us this short version explanation of the wheel of life, that comes to be known of the 6 steps of Lord Maitreya. Those 6 steps through which, because of our ignorance that's in every seed, we perpetuate ignorance in every seed by way of our misunderstanding our experience. And it happens like dominoes falling so quickly, one next to the other. But when we understand the process, we can understand better how and why it is the direct perception of emptiness is so crucial to sticking a stick in that wheel, right? Bringing it to a screeching halt. Not that like we all freeze when it comes to a screeching halt. It means we finally stop replanting the misunderstanding with every perception. So we've heard those 6 steps before. I think this is the first time that we get to see them in Tibetan. Unless we studied the Uttara Tantra, we did it then. All right, let me see where I am. Wait, I got ahead of myself. So before our break, so the Hinayanas have said, who said so? Master Shantideva. He says, Yum Kido, Lord Buddha, Perfection of Wisdom Sutras. And Hinayanas say, yeah, but we don't accept those texts as authoritative. And Master Shantideva says, well, why do you accept your texts as authoritative? And they say, well, because we believe they're true, and you believe they're true, so they must be true. Like everybody believes they're true. Everybody who's Buddhist believes they're true, so they must be true, number one. And then number two, we actually didn't know about them when we were little kids, and then we learned about them from our authority figures, and we checked them, we applied them to our life. We saw that they had the 3 necessary factors of teaching. What is it? Morality, concentration, right? The 3 baskets. I'm blanking out right now. The morality basket, the concentration basket, the wisdom basket, right? They have the 3. They are internally consistent, so we accepted them as true. So therefore, they are true. And Master Shantideva says, well, truth by consensus isn't a valid reason to accept something, because, we all know that there can be truth by consensus so that laws are passed in us about a certain thing, but that doesn't change the karmic law. So Geshe-la's example was when he was giving this teaching, at least, in our country, abortion was legal. But that doesn't mean that you won't get the karmic result of killing. You just won't go to jail for it in the moment or, that lifetime. So it's like consensus doesn't make something karmically accurate. And consensus changes. Don't we see that in the United States? Right? So, first of all, you can't say your scriptures are true for everyone by consensus. Then they said, second of all, we didn't know about either scriptures when we were kids. And we learned about the Mahayana ones and we studied them and we applied them to our lives to see if they were internally consistent. And we found that they have the teachings on morality, the teachings on concentration, the teachings on wisdom. So they qualify. We came to see that they are correct, that they are valid. And so he says to them, you're just saying the Mahayana scriptures are not authoritative because you've never checked into them. He's not saying you have to check into them. He's saying just don't disrespect them without checking them first. And then Geshe-la says, and if you seriously check them, you won't find them to be wrong. And you will want to study them further and practice them further. So he's being kind of sneaky here. So with that, he goes on to talk about this Lord Maitreya text, which is not a Pali text, right? So hopefully he's got his audience's ear, at least some of them. So now let's take our break and we'll go into these 6. Tom, nice to see you back. Love your haircut. You look so girly.
Thank you. Nice to be back. Still
So different.
adjusting to the time difference.
Oh, I imagine. What an experience.
Yeah, can I
Yes.
ask? Yeah, can I ask question?
Who's saying that? Oh, my Kong Li. Yes, ma'am. Try. If it's one of those long ones, I'll say wait.
Quite a few question today. Okay, just now I saw that you have this Hinayana for Sharawaka. This one is for listener, and then the Prajnaka Buddha is a self-made Buddha. This one is Hinayana. And then there's another one, Tara, Tarawatun, is it? This one is
Theravada.
Yeah, this
Right.
one is Hinayana also. And then
Right.
this one is grouped under because to my understanding, I always have two only, listener and self-made Buddha. So this one, the third one, where is it come from?
Right. It's the modern term for
From
the the Indonesian Buddhists are
Pali,
Theravadan. Right.
Pali one.
Modern. It's the modern. Right.
All right. And then this one uh Hinayana is normally grouped under the Abhidhamma Kosha. Is it
Well,
uh
under Abhidharma,
Abhidhamma?
Abhidharma Kosha means that book.
All right.
Abhidharma means all of Buddha's teachings about how things exist.
Ah, so consider this one is a group under Abhidhamma.
Yeah.
Abhidhamma. Okay. And then this one, there's another one, the Paramita, the Prajna Paramita, the perfection of wisdoms. this one is it the six perfections of wisdom come from the six perfections normally where we study.
Yeah.
So come from the paramita, prajna paramita,
Right.
right?
Boru, boru,
Uh-huh.
boru, boru, boru.
Bore polomito.
That one.
Yeah. Okay. And then there's another one is just now I have okay because I think from the second book chapter 2 Maitreya actually open teaching he is a Bodhisattva and then secret teaching he's already a Buddha, but this one is it still have like there's still have some issues with this one or to certain
Yeah.
group in open teaching
Yeah.
he's still a Bodhisattva and then in
Right.
secret teaching he's already a Buddha,
Right.
right?
So
Okay.
the lower vehicle people would say, well, this is an interesting teaching, but it's not Shakyamuni Buddha's teaching.
Ah,
So we'll listen to it, but we won't follow it because it's outside of our scripture.
understand. Yeah. I mean, we just learn whatever we can first, and from there we can study deeper and see what is the.
Right.
Okay, understand. I think I still have one. Oh, wait. Oh, okay. Just now there's one where the nirvana. Nirvana actually is supposed to be um oneself. I think he's seeing um direct perceptions. I mean DPE already. And then from there he can consider an Arya. Wait, Arya. And then if let's say from there, if let's say he still like clear all his bad seed and then until he can reach Buddha, I mean where normally we call it omniscience, is it? So first thing you have to uh, see see emptiness, then you can only become uh, Arya, is it? And then
Right.
because you still have mental afflictions where you need to clear, and then only then you can become omniscience and become a Buddha.
Right. The sequence is you become Arya, Arya becomes Arhat, Arhat
Uh-huh.
becomes Buddha.
Or you still have to become Arhat first.
You will. It's not you have to. You will
Uh-huh.
become Arhat on the way to Buddha.
Oh, okay. Because Arhat is only personal uh
Freedom from all mental afflictions.
sorry.
Freedom from all mental afflictions,
Yes.
active and sleeping, but not yet free of obstacles to omniscience. For a Mahayanists.
Ah, okay. Okay, thank you.
Good. Okay. So here are Lord Maitreya's six from Dang Zin Niki Bakchakyu down here to Korwar Kor. Dang Zin Niki Bakchakyu. Bakchakyu means seeds. You got it. Seeds got it. We have these seeds. Dang Zen Ni is the two. Ni is the number two, W-O. Dang Zen is the how we hold self. Dak means self and Zin means hold, but hold as in belief. Here, we're not just talking about myself in the Dongzin. We're talking about how we hold to the self of anything. subject, me, or object, you, or anything about my experience. Dangzin Ni means to hold to this tendency to see things as self-existent. The two means subject side, object side. The tendency to believe that me and my parts have their own nature. That's the duck, the self. They have themself in them. We're born, we have seeds. Every being in samsara has seeds for the belief that me and my parts have their own natures. So when we say me and my parts, we can also say me and my life. We can also say me and my world. Those are all synonyms. And at first, it's like me and my parts, my nose, my ear, those parts. And then we realize, oh my gosh, part of my parts is everything I own. And then, oh my gosh, part of my parts is everybody I know. And then, oh my gosh, part of my parts is everything I can experience. And our relationship with me and my parts, me and other, gets bigger in our capacity to apply our understanding of how we are living within this belief of Dangzhen Ni, the belief in me and my parts as having their own natures. We have those seeds, as if, like they say, we're born with those seeds. Like we have those seeds, born or not. That's every seed we've ever made has been stained with this belief. Why do I say that? Because we are samsaric beings. Okay, so really I can only speak for myself. Because I don't know about you guys. Probably you're all faking it. But if you're not, and you perceive yourself as a suffering being, then what I'm saying about me applies to you as well. And that's why I'm saying we. So please forgive me, all you already enlightened beings that are humoring me. I really appreciate it. And I remember all my past teachers doing this, and I would always go, come on, right? And it's like, oh my gosh, now I see why they're doing that. Anyway, thank you very much. So we all have these seeds. Second step, Dang Xin Yi, same Dang Xin Yi, those two, okay, grow. Those seeds are ripening. Third, Rang Nu Ne Drupa Yongwa, Dong Ni Ong Du Somen Yi J Kie. So something else grows. See the case? From this comes that, from that comes this. Yikers, what did I do? How do I stop it? Go away. Who is that? Whoa, did you see that? You still see my screen share? Man, I'm so glad. My seeds are like really flipping out. What is happening here? I don't know what to touch. It's funny. I just got a new computer. We're not on it. And I resisted shifting to 11, whatever that thing is, 11. I'm still on 10. And finally, a week or two ago. Like this poor computer just couldn't do what I needed it to do. And I finally admitted, okay, I've sucked it dry. Time for a new one. Sumati had such fun finding me the new computer. It came yesterday and he's going away today. So it's like, no, I'm not touching that computer until you get back. Thinking, right? I would have no trouble. But this one's doing what that one's gonna do, right? I touch this and something happens. And it's like, wait a minute. Karma is the weirdest thing. What was I talking about? Dongzin, oh, wrong nu ne drupe yionwa. So those seeds that we're born with grow into the two of seeing me and my experience as in them, from them. And from that grows or is included the objects attractive or unattractive. Yeonghwa means attractive. Yi myong means unattractive. So the instant a seed ripens, a me and my part. Here's my part. With that seed is attractive or unattractive. And it's this feeling, this, right? Heap of feeling. Thumbs up, thumbs down. It's with the seed ripening because I believe it's in it. And then instantly comes du chak dung she dung kye. Instantly grows du chak, ignorant liking, she dung, ignorant disliking. So it's not like, here's the pen. Is it a nice pen or a not nice pen? If it's nice, I want it. It's like, pen, nice, mine, you leave it alone. It's that fast. The instant seeing pen, this pen, my favorite pen, you stay away from it. Pfunk. Not me. Okay? So fast. Next, right? Also so fast because of my ignorant liking, because the attractiveness is in the pen. When I act to get it. I act to push it away. Believing, of course, that what I do to get it is what brings it to me, is what keeps it mine. Right? Part of the replanting the mistake. Believing that what I do to push it away is going to work, to push it away. Why do I want to push it away? Because it's unpleasant in it. It's unattractive. I ignorantly dislike it because its unpleasantness is in it. Its unattractiveness is in it. Why do I see it that way? Because my seeds ripened me to see it that way, but I don't know it. Dangzhen lei sok, just the impetus to get or push away is lei sok. But lei sok means collect karma. And then the wheel turns, korwar kor. Right? Collect karma means imprint made. Korwar kor means imprint is solidified. Now it's a seed. So it's like these 6 are going, right? I like my lotus turning mudra because they're not like, wunk, 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 wunk. It's ving, 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 ving. Almost like they're all happening at the same time, 65 per instant. They're not at the same time. They are one after the other. So how do we stop it? If by the time we've experienced something, we've already replanted the dungs in me, the belief in self-existence, how do we ever stop it? It seems really impossible. The whole point of this 6 steps of Lord Maitreya is to encourage us to say, look, we can really see exactly where our ignorance is playing a part, and then we can see how to stop it. And we can learn this pattern of these 6 and train ourselves to recognize when we're in this part, the attractive, I want, don't want, I'm going to act. And we can choose our action based on new criteria, meaning based on the karmic seed planting criteria, based on what we've learned. But we'll be doing our new kindness, being more generous with our intention to reach Buddhahood. All the while, we are still believing me, them, it, in them, in it. We'll grow the seeds for a kinder samsara by doing that, but we won't actually create our Buddhahood. Are we all right? Okay. We won't actually grow our Buddhahood until we stop this Dong Zen Ni, this belief in me and me, and you in you. And right, you're either nice, I like you, or not nice, I don't like you. In you, rather than my seeds ripening you that way. So Geshe went through this forward and backwards with different examples. So let's use our usual example, the angry yelling boss. And our usual experience, there they go again, blaming me for something I didn't do. I'm feeling hurt. I'm gonna yell back, thinking that by yelling back, I'm gonna get them to stop yelling at me. But actually, the reason they're yelling at me is not even because I'm yelling back at them. It's because I yelled at that stupid driver last week that cut me off. And I don't make that connection. So I decide I'm going to stop yelling back at the boss, but I keep yelling at the stupid drivers. And I can't understand why the boss keeps yelling at me, because I don't yell back at the boss. I don't yell at my coworkers. But those stupid drivers, come on. They don't even hear me yell. Yeah, but who does? Me. And that's the lay sak korwar kor. Different circumstance. Being cut off by a stupid driver. But ripening in my world as other people yelling at me for whatever reason. You know? So we act based on our lesak, right? Our reaction to the situation. We act based on our reaction. We had the reaction based on our ignorant liking, ignorant disliking. The ignorant liking, ignorant disliking was based on our belief that the pleasantness or unpleasantness was coming from the thing. We are forced to see the thing as pleasant or unpleasant in it because our seeds for perceiving things that way ripened because we had them to begin with. And we just replanted them 65 per instant by believing. So do you see why? Perceiving emptiness directly is the only way to stop perpetuating the belief in self-existence of me and my world. We can understand intellectually really, really, really highly, really finely. And the more we have that fine intellectual understanding as we're replanting our seeds, the less powerful is our ignorance. But there's still the inherent belief in me and me, you and you, that's feeding, adding to the previous strong belief of me and me and you and you. So we are chipping away at it as we study, as we keep our book, as we remind ourselves about the pen thing. But the only way to stop replanting the ignorance is to directly perceive its absence. We perceive its mistake when we see the seeds ripening. Oh, there's no pot on the stove. There's no the pot on the stove. There's information. Then there's pot on stove. And it becomes that pot on the stove. Chicharak. Now it's like, whoa, I still see things in them, but now I know I'm wrong. But I still haven't experienced directly the fact that there is no nature of the pot on the stove. It's all projection only. And so real. Spending that 20 minutes in the direct communion with the no self nature of your own self and your parts, meaning your world, your life, everything. And then we come out of it. That's when there is no more doubt about the truth that we have always perceived things wrongly. Even when we still have the high intellectual understanding, because our direct experience is still the thing in it, we can't help but doubt our intellectual understanding. Bless you. We're not like going, no, I doubt it. It just means it hasn't become real for us yet. It hasn't become an aspect. The lack of our ignorance hasn't become an aspect of our experience yet. It takes the direct perception of the ultimate reality of ourself and our objects to now know that that ultimate reality is truth, even when I can't perceive it again, which we don't. When we come back out of it, everything again seems like they're in them, but now our belief is gone. Like once your older sibling convinces you there's no such thing as Santa Claus, sorry. That Santa Claus that we believed in is just gone. Or that tooth fairy is just gone. We can pretend, we can play, we can, right, convince our kids that there is Santa. But then someday, poor kids, it was all a lie, right? You lied to me, Mom, about Santa Claus. Well, no, I didn't really lie to you, right? It's really slippery. So, why am I going about Santa Claus? The 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 end of the belief happens by way of experiencing ultimate reality just once. One time ends the belief. Does that mean all of a sudden you have no mental afflictions? No, because we haven't destroyed all those seeds that have ignorance in them. We've just damaged our belief in how they ripen. I mean, belief in what ripens. So we're no longer replanting ignorance. That's the key. With the instant of experience, they look self-existent, but we know they're not. We've heard that so many times. But it's significant because it's not like you go, oh, it looks self-existent, but I know it's not. Because if it took that long, we've already planted the re-self-existent in the time it took. The actual experience is, right? And then the next experience is attractiveness and unattractiveness. Still seems like it's in it. And it's like, so your automatic reaction is going to be like just the start. And then it's like, and that's how we break the cycle because we're no longer replanting the ignorance as those ignorant seeds ripen. Do you see how it can work? No wonder we're on the conveyor belt out. You don't actually have to do anything but live once you're direct perception. But it's going to take a really long time if you're just waiting for every seed that's ever been planted to come up so that you can replant it accurately. Instead, we decide, no, I'm going to actively work with my seeds. I'm going to actively work with my giving, moral discipline, etc., because those are the circumstances that stir forth the obstacles to giving, moral discipline, etc. We actually get to the point where instead of avoiding our mental afflictions like the plague, avoiding situations that would trigger a mental affliction, which is what we do at our Hinayana level practice. We instead, right, when we're brave enough, step into the circumstances that would bring them up to see, how are my seeds doing? Look, yelling boss, would you yell at me for crying out loud? You used to yell at me all the time, and now I can't get you to yell at me. Come on, traffic, would somebody cut me off so I can see whether I want to yell at you? See how our world changes? And it really is kind of weird. Like my own personal experience, when I would get in a situation where I really don't want to do whatever it is, the circumstances wanting me to do, and I try to wiggle out of it. And finally, it's like, no, okay, I'm going to do it. And I even look forward to doing it. All of a sudden, the whole circumstance dissolves and I don't even get to do it. And it's like every time I say that, another one pops up and it doesn't always work. So I'm not saying it happens all the time, but often enough that I've like, okay, let's stop resisting those unpleasant things and work them out and be willing to step in, and all of a sudden it's not unpleasant after all. Right? It's cool. All right. What am I doing? Thank goodness, this is going well. So again, in these 6 steps, the common theme is our ignorance. What we mean by ignorance is our belief that the object and its identity and its qualities and its function are all in it, from it, including our me. That ignorance means we're not understanding, not perceiving all those objects' identities, qualities, and functions as ripening results of our own seeds planted, which means we don't realize that all of those experiences that I'm having are ripening results of my own past behavior, because it's my behavior through which I plant the seeds. If my behavior is colored with the misunderstanding, so will be the seeds planted. The extent to which my behavior is colored by wisdom and love is the extent to which the seeds are planted with wisdom and love. After direct perception of emptiness, we can no longer replant full-on ignorance. So we are burning off our ignorance with every perception, 65 per instant. And without that, we can't stop perpetuating our misperception. No matter how much we can suppress acting from our mental affliction, we can't suppress the 2 ripening, belief in self-existent me, self-existent other. It's happened by the time we have anything to suppress. So he's telling this, or we're going through this, in order to understand how the lower school is misunderstanding the path of seeing. They believe path of seeing means experiencing those 16 aspects of impermanence and then learning to live according to them. And higher school says, yes, you can learn about them in the truth of the causes of suffering, and you can learn about how to live according to them in the truth of the Eightfold Path. But in the process of doing so, we will still be replanting that deep misperception of me and my object and my experience of the object. So you won't ever actually reach the nirvana you think you're going to reach, lower school, until you see emptiness directly. And they don't say you don't have to see emptiness directly. They agree. They just say you don't have to see emptiness directly before you can realize the 4 truths. See where the argument between them gets like kind of silly. It's like, so who cares? Live according to your 16 aspect, because that's going to help you stop harming others and gather goodness. And that's going to lead to your experience of the direct perception of emptiness. Maybe not with bodhicitta in your heart, but still your direct perception. And now you're no longer replanting your seeds. And now you will have the realization of the 16 aspects versus just the high intellectual understanding. And you really will be on the conveyor belt to your nirvana. Like, why not start from there? So don't disrespect the lower school's methods. Their method is avoid circumstances that will bring up an active mental affliction. Because when we're in the midst of an active mental affliction, it's really, really hard to choose our reaction differently. So avoid it. Gather your goodness in some other way. Avoid harming, avoid harming, avoid harming, avoid circumstances in which you will be harmed physically, mentally, emotionally. It means isolating ourselves, staying at arm's width. But when we step out of that, and when we face the world again, we don't have greater tools for reacting differently, do we? So, he says, look, when we're in deep, deep meditation, for instance, we're not making any bad karma. We're still replanting ignorance, but we're not making any bad karma. So you can spend hours, days, weeks, months, years in meditation. But as soon as you come out, the first person who insults you, it's very likely that you're going to get offended. Because just because we spent hours and hours avoiding doesn't mean we'll be able to change our reaction to something unpleasant or our reaction to something pleasant. Okay. So lastly, somebody apparently says to Master Shantideva, look, okay, I took what you said to heart. I've been trying to meditate on emptiness. Seems like I'm getting closer and closer to that no self-existent me. And you know what? It's scary. I don't think I can keep doing it. Like this person must have been getting really, really close. Not so well educated about it, but getting close because it can feel like you're about to disappear. Your you does disappear. Well, that's hard to say. If somebody's watching you in your direct perception of emptiness, your body is still there. They would see you in deep meditation. Theoretically, even if they poked you or talked to you, you wouldn't respond. But I'm about to say you'd still be breathing, but that may not even be the case. You're not dead. Let's put it that way. And you don't poof off your cushion either. But your own mind's awareness is as if you have. No subject-object interaction differentiation happening. Like, what's that going to be like? So subtle. So we do bump up into a place that feels fearful as we're getting close. And the guy says, I don't know. I don't think I can do it. It's just too scary. And Master Shantideva says, look, good for you for trying. But you know what? Your life is scary. Like everything we do in response to life, pleasant, unpleasant, is planting the seeds for continued misunderstanding the world. At any given moment, we have no idea what's going to ripen next. Don't you find that scary? Like if we really understood, I mean, poor Tom, she just came out of a circumstance. Like life is terrifying. And we've gotten really good at some kind of, consistency that we believe is going to continue, but we don't know. And I don't mean to say, okay, we're not really being Buddhist until we're walking around terrified. Is there going to be ground below my feet with the next step? But technically, right? Technically, we don't know moment by moment. So he says to not meditate on emptiness leaves you in this uncertainty that at any moment things could shift. And if you're not terrified enough by that, well, then I guess live a little bit more. When you compare the two, that scariness of emptiness is preferred over how scary life is. I don't want to leave us on that note. It's a great goodness that we are in worlds, at least right this moment, that are not precarious to our continued this life existence. It feels kind of precarious to me right now, but we have great goodness because we've done the work previous lifetimes, because we've done the work in this lifetime. Master Shantideva's point is wisdom is necessary to break the cycle. Growing our wisdom is necessary to get the wisdom to break the cycle. The process of growing the wisdom is starting to break the cycle. And so we are all already doing that. How? Study, plant the seeds by studying seriously, sharing what we learn with others, contemplating, meditating on it to get deeper into those understandings. Serve a teacher, help other people, help other beings. Recognize that unpleasantness and pleasantness is all being burned off as we experience it, and that everything that we are perceiving ourselves, thinking, doing, saying towards other is where we create. So we are creating our futures moment by moment. And if we can train ourselves to stay in that mode, even as we react to what's happening, we'll feel more proactive in life, because there is never a moment we're not planting. So we can use that awareness of planting our seeds to plant consciously. And maybe we don't actually do anything very much differently because we're already kind and helpful. We're training our mind to be just a little more aware, right? I'm doing this to create a better world for everybody, not just do the dishes. I'm doing this to create Buddha. I'm doing this to create Buddha paradise. It sounds just like magical thinking. People say that to me. That's just magical thinking. Right. Right. Put some magic in every seed, please. It's not going to change what happens the next moment, but it is going to change things. Whether we see it change or not, it influences me in the future. And this 6 steps of Lord Maitreya shows us why. why and how. And so you can take these 6 and map out what you want to do in the face of your next favorite mental affliction. You know what's going to bring it up. Probably you know when it's going to happen, like the circumstance anyway. And you can plan out, well, okay, usually I act like this, and that replants seeds like that. Let's try acting like this next time. And you just try it on for size, see what happens, right? What happens in the moment doesn't matter. See how it feels. And do it a number of times. And then you can stop doing it if you want. Although maybe it's like, well, this is more fun anyway. I'll keep doing it. And then we want to look into our world and say, oh, what kind of response have I gotten? Which can be helpful, but it's more fun to just say, okay, that was fun. Let's see where I can do it someplace else, regardless of the result I get. You figure out what to do based on the result you want, but then forget the result and just do that deed. Then create some new behavior change for another aspect of that result, but forget the result. The result will come, but it will come bigger and better than your plan. And if we have this result in mind, like that special partner is going to be tall with blonde hair, and we plant the seeds for our partner and we're watching for tall with blonde hair, the little short dark-haired guy, right? You won't even notice. And they're the one, right, that you're going to fall in love with, but you don't give them the time of day because your expectation is blocking your ability to see the result. Which is a whole nother level of mental affliction to work on. Expectation versus expectancy. Okay, that's enough. So class 4 was about why seeing emptiness directly is necessary to stop replanting ignorance. Based on that discussion of what does dependent origination and emptiness mean? Right, so think about how those come one from another. You don't have to see emptiness directly to understand dependent origination, says lower school. You can stop your mental afflictions without seeing emptiness directly. Not really. Okay, good job. Remember that person we wanted to be able to help? We learned a lot that we will use to help them in that deep and ultimate way. And that's a great, great goodness. So please be happy with yourself. And think of this goodness like a beautiful glowing gemstone that you can hold in your hands. Recall your own precious holy being. See how happy they are with you. Feel your gratitude to them, your reliance upon them. Ask them to please stay close, to continue to guide you, help you, inspire you. And then offer them this gemstone of goodness. See them accept it and bless it. And they carry it with them right back into your heart. See them there, feel them there. Their love, their compassion, their wisdom. It feels so good. We want to keep it forever. And so we know to share it by the power of the goodness that we've just done. May all beings complete the collection of merit and wisdom, and thus gain the two ultimate bodies that merit and wisdom make. So use those 3 long exhales to share this goodness with that one person. To share it with everyone you love. To share it with every existing being everywhere. See them all filled with loving kindness, filled with wisdom. And may it be so. So happy Easter, if anyone partakes. Happy Passover, I guess, Tom. I don't know, is that what you say, happy? That's weird. Okay. All right. Thanks, everyone, for the opportunity to share.